All in the game.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's Big John, and welcome to another episode of It's All in the Game. I am so excited to talk about the topic of today's video. So, some of you may have seen this. The City Council of Minneapolis is going to disband the city's police department. Now, this is just, to me, this is just so fantastic. It's like a dream come true almost. So what the plan is here is to take the money that the city is currently putting towards the police department, pull all those funds back, and put them into community programs that would help communities, community mental health, housing, employment, education. If they could put money into programs like this and have community members that are trained, psychologically trained to go work with individuals on these kind of things, the plan is to do just that. There's no way that the police forces in America should just be a bunch of people with a high school diploma that really doesn't have any other, kind of prerequisite for that. Law enforcement in America, I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this for years. If to be a law enforcement officer in America, you should have to have like a minimum of a master's degree. And you should have like a master's degree in sociology or psychology or something. So you really have understanding and knowledge of the dynamic that exists in these communities that you're dealing with. So what they're talking about now is putting people that have those kind of skills and those kind of understandings, in place in these communities to go work with people on a one-on-one level and take the focus off of enforcement and off of arresting people and criminalizing people, and put that focus onto educating and helping people grow. And obviously this is a huge step. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we have to see how it would all play out, but I think that there is a lot of hope here. I think this is really, really a great idea. They've tried different things over the years. They have tried all kinds of reform. They tried de-escalation trainings and like racial sensitivity trainings, trainings how to work in diverse communities, putting body cameras on cops, but it has not changed the culture of policing. It just hasn't changed the culture of policing at all. Because the culture of policing, even after you do all those things, the main focus in the culture of policing is still enforcement. And enforcement is something that just goes contrary to growth and education and helping people and building people up. Enforcement is not building people up and helping people. They're just two completely opposite things. Even when you're not looking at policing in general, those two things in any spectrum cannot work together, right? So, a lot of this, it got me thinking, and this is actually, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. My friend's story got me thinking about this. Really goes back to if you really think about the history of policing and how policing in this country started. Maybe if you ask somebody, like, where do you think policing started? Maybe people are thinking back to the sheriffs of the Old West or, the Pinkerton detective agencies and these things and get this kind of like romantic notion in their mind. But really, some of the first police departments in our nation were formed in the Deep South as patrols to help round up escaped slaves and bring them back to their masters. And then once slavery was abolished, once the 13th Amendment was signed and slavery was abolished, one of the major focuses of police all over was simply enforcing Jim Crow laws. I'm a huge fan of Noam Chomsky. He is like I just love everything that man has to say. And I was listening to a speech of his one time. This has stuck with me for a long time. He said, after the 13th Amendment was signed and slavery was abolished, what happened was actually much, much worse for Black Americans, because basically what happened then was Black life was criminalized. And, prior to that, when a slave was somebody's property, people usually try to treat their property, I'm not saying that slaves were like well treated, but people try to keep their property working well and functioning well. If you have a car or you have a lawnmower, you're going to, keep it functioning right. You're going to maintain it and do the right things to keep it healthy, as it were. So when slaves were property, at least they were fed and cared for. To an extent. But once Jim Crow, or once the 13th Amendment was passed, basically black life was criminalized. And these Jim Crow laws, it goes much, much deeper than just saying, this is the black restroom and this is the white restroom, or this is the black drinking fountain and this is the white drinking fountain. For very, very minor offenses, a black man or a black woman, a black person could be arrested and incarcerated literally indefinitely in many cases for really nothing. For a black man looking at a white woman, somebody sees it. These are the things that caused lynching. These were the things that people lost their lives over. And one of the major early functions of law enforcement was to see that these laws were enforced. And they were done so brutally, they were done so indiscriminately, and they were done so with no oversight. So this is really where the culture of law enforcement in America has its roots, it has its origins. So the idea that law enforcement is an inherently racist institution is nothing new. This is something that has existed in that way for couple hundred years, 170 years now or so. Now I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, that's not what they're doing now. They're just not out there rounding up slaves and just locking up black people indiscriminately because they looked at a white woman. And while maybe it's not that overt and in your face, laws really, really are disproportionately applied to people of color, to minority communities. That is an absolute fact. If you look at the disproportionate numbers of people who are incarcerated, black people are incarcerated at just an overwhelmingly higher number. And if you think that's just because black people commit more crimes, that's bullshit. Do some research, do a little bit of reading. You have to look at, there's so many nuances to that. You have to look at the reasons, the cultural reasons, the things that are, the communities that people are growing up in, where they don't have the kind of support and the kind of privilege that somebody like myself had growing up. All right. This is so real. White privilege is so, so real. If you have any doubt whatsoever in its existence, please holler at me. I'm not going to look at it as an adversarial conversation. I would love to talk to you about it, and I would be happy to point you to some of my black friends that would love to talk to you about it too, and not in an adversarial way, just to help you understand it. All right. But getting off of that a little bit and back to the culture of policing. I don't know how many of y'all have ever seen or heard of or read about the Stanford prison experiment. Okay, so a few years ago they actually made a feature movie about this, but for years, since the advent of YouTube, you've been able to watch some of they filmed it all as it was happening, so you could see some of that film, but there have been papers written on it and stuff for many, many years. So it's something that I've been familiar with for a very, very long time. So what the Stanford prison experiment was, it was this psychology professor in the 1970s at Stanford University. But basically what he did is he picked a group of 30 people or something like that and say, you 15, just randomly chose them. You 15 are going to be the inmates, and you 15 are going to be the guards. And he was going to do it, I think, for a course of 3 weeks, I want to say. And he basically created a fake prison environment where 15 people were inmates, and they were locked up in a prison. And the other 15 people were the guards, and they would come in shifts, and they would be the guards. And it was telling. The results were fucked up, y'all. The people who were there to be guards inherently became brutal. And these were people who had all been screened. All of these people were just well-adjusted, normal, quote-unquote, good people in society. So it wasn't any of these people had any pre-existing psychological issues that should have affected them to, make them turn crazy or cruel or make the other ones, go the other way. But what was happening was the people who were the guards, the people who were put in that position of authority, they became hostile, they became cruel, and they just became the way you would think of mean prison guards bad police being. When you give somebody that kind of power over another human being, just psychologically, that power is going to go to people's heads. Whether or not you think ahead of time, look, I'm a good guy, I'm just going into this because I really want to help my community, and that's what policing's for. And you go into it, once you get that badge and that gun and you realize, look, I have this power over these people, that power inherently goes to people's heads. And the culture of policing today in America, on top of that, it's just a recipe for disaster, y'all. It is. Law enforcement, policing in America should be something to strengthen and protect our communities. And I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this for months now on this channel. It is anything but. It is completely backed up by other motivations. And the culture of law enforcement on the street really just has zero concern and zero positive impact on the communities that they police in. All right. So I just cannot wait to see how this plays out. This is just so exciting for me. So I am just so excited to see this happening in Minneapolis. I really hope this is something that catches on nationwide. I hope that people start seeing, look, our cultures, our communities are actually going to be a lot better off, a lot safer when we see our own community members looking out and trying to help one another, rather than having a group of people in there trying to enforce and punish and arrest people and take them out of that community. It could potentially be a huge paradigm shift in America. There are huge obstacles to overcome. There are a lot of different industries and institutions that are propped up by this system that are going to put up a lot of opposition to this, and it's not going to be easy, but I'm really excited to see that it's starting to happen. All right, with that, y'all, I'm going to say over and out, y'all have a great day. Thank you again for watching. If you like this content, hit that like button. I mean it. Hit the fucking like button, y'all. And even more so, hit that subscribe button, because I'm trying to build something here. I say that a lot, but I mean it. I'm trying to put together a team of like-minded people here to try to affect a positive change in this country. This whole thing with the Minneapolis Police Department potentially being disbanded, this is something I never would have thought I would have seen in my lifetime, which gives me hope that some of the other changes that should be happening might be able to happen too. But it's going to take a lot of people standing up and having a voice together. All right, and that's what I'm trying to make happen here, you guys. So hit that subscribe button. Let's build a team here. Let's put something in motion. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Big John told you so. It's all in the game.